you're a Dallas guy. You're based in Dallas. And the Mavs, they stunned the world, not just because they won this game against Phoenix last year in the West semis, but they kicked the crap out of them. And it was quite an embarrassment. It actually, it makes me hate the Suns from a standpoint, like, how do you feel good about this basketball team going forward? You might look back at this team in half a decade, and go, this is what made them crumble altogether. We don't know. We'll see how it plays out. But they are home, the Suns, against the Mavs, a 10 p.m. tip on ESPN tomorrow night. Over on the Action app, 69% of the bets, 76% of the money coming in on Dallas. Dallas getting all the love here. Are we going to fade the public and ride Phoenix in a revenge spot, or are we riding the Luka wave from last summer?
Man, I can tell you this. So just from being a Mavs fan, the Suns owned us for a while. I mean, they had won like 18 or 19 games versus, so they absolutely owned us. I'm one to believe at some point things have to reverse. So that's the thing why it's such a tough game. One thing I can tell you, one of the strongest angles I have, guys, is taking teams that lost a playoff series in that first game next year. I call it playoff revenge angle. It hits at a very high clip. We know that the Suns have been thinking about this basically all season, especially how they got kicked out of the playoffs. Game 7 as well, 123-90 on your home floor. They got absolutely smoked in that game. So we know they're going to come back with something. But while that'll keep me off the game because the Suns are nothing, this team has some turmoil, obviously, with DeAndre Ayton and the head coach over there as well. They lost Jay Crowder, one of their nice 3-and-D guys. So this team doesn't have as much depth as well. Landry Shamet's banged up. He's out. And then you got Campaign. While he started back practice, he's barely played in the preseason, so he could be a little rusty as well. So this team has a lot of moving parts right now and inner turmoil in the locker room. While this is a heavy revenge game, some still tells me that maybe the Mavs, because they can match up really well with them now with Dorian Finney-Smith, Reggie Bullock, and they added some depth at the center position as well. So this is going to be a really good game to watch. I'd probably be looking towards the under here. I could see this being another playoff style type of basketball game.
You know, you're being kind by giving the final score. You didn't mention that they were down 42 through the end of 3. It was. I mean, how do you not turn the game off at that point, right? Watching that game, largest lead for Phoenix in that game, or for Dallas, excuse me, was 46, down 42 through 3. Any angle on this game, Sean, in terms of? Well, I'll say this too. The opening line was 5.5. It's down to 4.5. So Dallas is clearly getting some love here. What's your read on this game based on how the money's coming in?
Yeah, Dallas getting a lot of love in this spot. This is probably the most interesting game on the whole slate for me tomorrow. All the things Jay laid out about the revenge spot. We know there's a lot of turmoil stuff going on in Phoenix. Cam Johnson doesn't get a deal. We got we have the guy that gets the deal. Aiden gets the deal, doesn't want the deal. Then we have Chris Paul, who's hey man, he is gonna get older. And I actually tweeted out an insane stat earlier today. I'm gonna pull it up really quickly.
Go ahead.
That the Phoenix Suns last year in crunch time were 33-9 in clutch games last year, shooting 58%, 43% from 3. The next best team was the Raptors, 26-19. They shot 41% and shot 34% for 3. And clutch time equals game within 5 points in the final 5 minutes. That has to have some regression. I know Chris Paul's the clutch guy coming down the stretch, but that has to slow up some way, somehow coming into this year. So yeah. And then of course you look over at Dallas, Luka's the man, 3rd straight year being the preseason MVP candidate. We know all about that, an absolute monster in every sense. His usage rate is out of control up there, 36%. And then you add JaVale McGee. Then you get Tim Hardaway Jr. back, who is an absolute bucket. And you just have all these guys around Luka who are essentially 3-and-D guys. In a perfect world for Jason Kidd, essentially, it seems like you just throw out a bunch of guys that can play defense and shoot threes with Luka, and that's how we're gonna rock. That's how we're gonna try to win the title. And they came damn close last year. So this is the most interesting game on the slate with all the extracurriculars outside of the game. This is going to be very interesting. And then, of course, you throw the point spread on top of it. This is going to be one to watch.